If anxiety, stress, or life's overwhelming demands have been holding you back, and you've been searching for a practical way to build true mental resilience, strength training might be just what you need. Today, I'm talking with Amanda Nigg, who rebuilt her life through lifting after losing everything in a devastating fire. You'll learn the science behind why pushing weights builds your psychological armor, practical ways that busy, hardworking people can use fitness to strengthen body and mind, and how physical resilience directly translates to mental toughness in everyday life. Today's episode will show you why lifting weights might be the most powerful therapeutic tool you're not using. Welcome to Wits and Weights, the show that helps you build a strong, healthy physique using evidence, engineering, and efficiency. I'm your host, Philip Pape, and today I've invited on Amanda Nigg, aka the FarmFit Momma, to discuss the connection between strength training, which we all love, and mental toughness. Amanda is a certified personal trainer, nutrition coach, wellness expert who founded FarmFit Training after rebuilding her life through fitness following a devastating house fire in 2020. She's a busy farm wife and mother. She lives on a 114-year-old South Dakota farm and brings that unique experience to helping hardworking people develop physical and mental toughness through structured training and nutrition. Today, you're going to learn how doing physically hard things like lifting weights builds psychological resilience almost like nothing else, some strategies to manage stress and anxiety through lifting, and tips for building a routine that works for you to build that stronger body and mind. Amanda, welcome to the show.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We were chatting before we got on about, you can see a barn outside your door. You're in the agriculture industry. There's so much happening there. And even though I'm not a city boy, I'm in Connecticut. We live on 6 acres ourselves, with some trees. A lot of folks, may or may not relate to that lifestyle. What I thought was cool about talking to you today is that kind of resilience and toughness that you might have from practical experience with the farming lifestyle, but also working with clients and what you've discovered through fitness. So to kick things off, I just want to ask you, what mental changes do happen when someone starts lifting weights?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. A lot of people don't understand the interconnection between mental health and physical health. You really can't look at one or the other. When you're talking about physical fitness, your mental health is going to be right there. It's going to be impacted. It's going to be changed just by working on yourself. And a lot of people think, taking that time for myself, it's more like a selfish endeavor. And it really isn't, because you impact those around you in a positive manner by taking care of yourself. In the same token with mental health, you can't work on your mental health without tapping into your physical health. And so I think the biggest thing, especially in my industry, is, things are advancing as far as technology. They're coming out with self-drive tractors, believe it or not. We don't have one on our farm, but man, would I love one. But the cool thing is, as technology advances, what's not advancing in my industry is health and physical health. And we're talking physical and, mental health. And so it was one of those things where there's tons of amazing influencers. I hate that word, by the way, influencer. I just hate it. I'm like, if you're passionate about something, why do we have to label it as influencers? But that's a whole ball and egg. But as far as agriculture goes, there's tons of people out there that are bridging that gap between consumer and producer, which I'm also doing that as well. I'm really debunking those myths. But what wasn't present in our industry is somebody standing up for physical and mental health. And that's really where I focus on. I really want to be able to bridge that gap when it comes to physical and mental health for my industry. And a lot of people don't realize agriculture is your backbone of the world. We're not just talking the US, it's the world. Without the food system, nobody would exist. We have those hobby farms, everybody, and don't get me wrong, I have my own garden that I'd like to dabble in and think I'm an advanced farmer when it comes to my own garden, even though weeds take it over. But with that being said, physical health and mental health is something that I'm super passionate about, and I love to keep educating myself. Just because I have the certifications doesn't mean I stop. I actually just purchased another certification off of NASM for sports nutrition. And so I'm starting to dabble into sports nutrition in youth as well. And so I'm always a student when it comes to learning and incorporating new practices that I can bring to the table.
Love it. Yeah, sports nutrition. Now you're talking my area. We definitely can chat about that.
I
Um,
just
yeah. No, no, cool. That's awesome. I mean, yeah, because it all works together, and it's the more you learn about each of these bit and get the education, the more you realize how it's all connected. It's all connected systemically, physiologically, and then even with your mind and with your the way we interact with our professions and our careers and other people. So, what's interesting is you mentioned the ag industry, physical and mental health. What that made me think of was, so I'm in the engineering industry, and in manufacturing for years, there were always safety issues, right? And the more, like, even ergonomically, just having to bend over to, fasten something together on an assembly line could cause back issues. And over the years, they've put in place more safeguards, for physical health. Mental health is definitely something that the whole world hasn't really talked a lot about until the last maybe decade or two maximum. I don't know if you agree with that. That's what I've observed.
I wouldn't even say
Yeah.
the last couple of
Yeah.
years. Like
Yeah. Last
mental
couple of
health,
years. True.
yeah, like no, mental health wasn't talked about a lot. It was more of a stigma of like if you talked about it, like you were weak, is how
Hmm.
people kind of viewed
Hmm.
mental health.
Hmm.
And then ever since the C word, I don't know if I should say it here, but ever since 2020, like a lot more people are opened about it. And I case in point, my whole story is about it, and so it's a topic that is being brought out and talked about a lot more, which is really cool to see because if you can talk about your mental health struggles, it actually shows how strong you are. It's not a weakness, it's a strength. And I think it's really cool how industries are starting to talk about it. And I would definitely say it's more prevalent the last couple of years, believe it or not, in my
And
opinion.
and tell me more about that. Like, both, I would love to hear about in that industry, because we never talk about that industry on this show. So it's pretty cool. Like, what
I'm the
things have they yeah, what have they recognized and put in place? Because I'm sure there's some general lessons there for anybody.
Well, I mean, in rural America, for rural anywhere, and we're talking international as well, like they're just the services are very slim. It's not like I can go to a counselor. Like I still have to drive 45 minutes to even a counselor, And when I was going through my struggles in 2020, like, so to give a little bit background
Yeah,
of
please do. Yeah.
people don't know me is I actually graduated college as a radiation oncology therapist, so a medical degree. Like I have that fixer personality. I love to fix things. And the reason I went into oncology is it was an industry that I really wanted to understand. And we're talking like 14 years ago. I just put a date on myself. I feel old now.
I thought you were
But
like 22. Come on.
oh, I wish. Let's say I look it. But, even a long time ago when I went into the oncology field, there was so much that people didn't understand in that industry. And that's what really drove me to it because I wanted to understand it and be that fixer solution. And so later in my ventures, I ended up selling door to door insurance because, like, they threw me in pediatric oncology. And I'll be the first to tell you, like, fresh out of college, I wasn't
Yeah,
ready for that industry. That
it's
is like,
tough.
those people are saints that can stay in that industry. And so when I started selling insurance, I did door to door sales and I learned a lot about myself in that process because, like, door to door sales is the hardest type of sell that you will ever have to do. You have 5 seconds to make that first impression. And so I learned a lot in that personally, but also the supplemental coverage that I sold, it was still that fixer type of solution where it
Mm.
would give money directly to the person if they went through a catastrophic illness like cancer, heart, or accidental. But in the same token, it allowed people to choose the quality care they want instead of the quality care they could afford. So I loved it. I actually sold insurance for 11 years, believe it or not, 11 years,
Okay.
which is insane to say. But in 2020, the day before the national pandemic, we just built our forever home that was actually half a mile away from the farm. And me and my husband poured our heart and soul. Like he was the
Mm.
contractor for our house project, everything. And as you probably can already guess, our house burned down. We lost everything. So March 19th, 2020, we lost our entire home. And then the next day was the official quotations here, lockdown. And so it was like not only was the world and especially in the United States going through this lockdown of like nobody knew what was happening, and we're all guessing like there's tons of speculation soaring around. Our family was homeless.
Mm.
Like we had nowhere to go and you couldn't even go to a grocery store. Like everything was shut down. And so like I was super struggling. Like I really started to struggle with my mental health. Like I wasn't able to sell insurance anymore. I'm homeschooling my children. I'm social distancing, which I'm an extreme extrovert. Like I love to be around
Mm.
people. And then in addition to that, like we're homeless and we're trying to figure out our next steps on top of all this. And it was a lot to take in. Like I'll be the first to admit, like I was very vocal about my mental health struggles because it's just like I had the only solution that was available was a 1-800 number, which again, that works for some people. And I don't want to downplay that. Like if you're really struggling, yes, definitely call that. But for me, I viewed it as like a band-aid approach. It's like, why would you cover a bullet wound with a band-aid? Because that you don't really, you're talking to a complete stranger, dumping your emotions out, and then what happens when it happens again and you're struggling again? You're going to have to relive, open that bullet wound back up, get all that information back out, and then try to work where you're going through in that moment. And so, like for me, I really dove hard into my fitness journey. I started going to our junk pile. My husband would bring me random, like junk pile tires. Like I'm talking covered in dirt, like these junk pile tires. Cause like my gym was in our home and he knew how much I loved, taking that time for myself. And he understood the value that it did and how it would allow me, to be able to give to our family because it's a lot harder to pour from a half empty cup than a half full. And he understood, like, hey, I need to take that time for myself. And so I started posting these random workouts online, and I wasn't certified at the time. And I remember the pivoting moment for me, the aha moment was in May of 2020 that I launched this plank challenge. And it was nothing crazy, Phil. Like it was some generic program I saw online, and I kind of tweaked it a little bit and made it more universal. And I launched it online for the month of May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Mhm.
And I had 800 plus people in agriculture across the world participate in this. Like, honestly don't know the number. I mean, I was getting tagged left and right from people from Australia, UK, Canada, United States. And it really just opened my eyes. Like, nobody's really tackling that physical and mental health component within this industry. And it was just like, I did a couple other challenges later that year, but it really lit my fire where I decided to go back to get me my personal training and nutrition. It was where I started. And I officially opened the doors to FarmFit training February 5th of 2021 because it was like, if nobody's going to do this, I want to be that change. I want to give individuals a solution to where they have a space if they were like me that wouldn't call that number.
Yeah, you wanted to be that change, and you did that. Sounds like in less than a year.
Yeah,
Prob
10 months.
Yeah, totally unexpected.
Yeah.
That's a rough story. Obviously, I'm sure you've told the story many times. That's probably therapeutic in and of itself. But what I want to know is, there's some steps skipped there that the audience wants to know. Of, you said you did these workouts after the house burned down, and that helped push you through it. That implies that you were already, because you had a gym in your house. Yeah. Would you say, because what's the chicken and egg here? Pun intended, farm joke, I guess. We do have chickens, by the way. What came first, chicken or the egg? What came first, the lifting or the mental kind of resilience? You know what I'm saying? That's really the topic of today, is how strongly did your existing routine and love for fitness push you through it versus it drove you to it? You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
So I was that overweight mom. So I've always been physically active. Like I am a very strong
Mhm.
competitor. Like I grew up playing sports. I was the type of kid that was in every sport imaginable and I would excel in every single sport. Like I have a very competitive drive to me. And when I went into motherhood, I'm 5'1" and a buck 20, 120, 125. Like I gained 60 pounds my first pregnancy.
Okay.
Like being pregnant did a number on my body. And I had my first pregnancy was an emergency C-section.
Mm.
And my second one was a scheduled C-section. So like it wasn't even like your typical normal pregnancy. It was rough. And thank God I love my boys to death, but I'm officially done having kids. Like wherever we're going. But, like, I was that mom that was uncomfortable in her own skin. I was that super insecure with who I was, and so, for me, I knew I had to get back to feeling comfortable in my own skin, and that looks different for everybody, like, how you view yourself, and they throw this word confidence out, and first and foremost, there's 2 ways you can view confidence, like, you can view it as, like, cockiness. Some people have that cocky confidence, But another way to view confidence is believing in your own abilities and what you bring to the table. And for me, I didn't have that. And so when I started working out, I actually started with a CrossFit program, which I don't follow her anymore. She went all bougie. If you've heard of Christmas Abbott, she's a CrossFit person.
I'll just be honest. I kind of stay away from the CrossFit community these days, but okay.
Yeah, that's a cult. Let's just say what it is.
Yeah. I did it for
But
8 years, but yeah, I
yeah,
escaped.
but
I
no,
escaped
I
the cult
loved it. Well, the CrossFit community appealed to me because it was just you see all these badass people and you're like,
for
I'm
sure.
part of that. And so when after my second pregnancy, I did do a couple CrossFit programs and I loved it. And my husband saw the change in my personality, like in my motivation and just carrying myself, like how I carried myself every day to day. It was like I had purpose. And so I guess back to your chicken and egg
Mhm.
comment, I had to start working out to tap into my mental health to be to where I am today. So that's what happened in 2020 when I lost my gym is I knew I had to go back to the ground and get to back to the foundation of diving that time into myself so that I could be able to show up powerfully for my family, especially when we were going through so many unknowns in 2020.
Yeah, that's well said. I caught a few things there that were kind of the deeper part of why that was important to you. One being having a purpose, you said, and the other, the confidence and showing up for yourself, time for yourself. There's a mindfulness component, especially when we're in this stressed world where we're just on the go, never dedicate. I mean, I get that as a business owner and, a very packed schedule, my lifting 4 days a week is going to happen. Like no matter what, it's going to happen. I mean, short of some emergency. And yet I probably wouldn't have a really dedicated self time without that. So having said that, I want to understand the elements of training and exercise that are most beneficial, both in the evidence, if I don't know how much up on all the evidence you are, but also in practical experience, because sometimes I feel like people use exercise in general, stressful exercise as well, like CrossFit can be, as maybe a scapegoat or an escape that doesn't actually reduce stress or anxiety or doesn't actually build the confidence and the resilience, right? It's almost like an endorphin or dopamine hit band-aid. What are your thoughts on that spectrum between that and something that's truly rejuvenatory?
Yeah, regenerate. That's a beautiful word, by the way.
Just came up out of my
I
ass.
love it. I love it.
Sorry.
Well, first and foremost, people overcomplicate things. Let's just lay it out as it is. And especially when it comes to fitness, they think they need to work out an hour to 2 hours a day. And they're like, oh, I don't have time. The number one excuse, especially in my community, was time. And so I've done the ton of research to answer your question. I've
Mhm.
done those 800 plus page scientific journals. And I remember coming across this one scientific journal and it really hit home for me. And it took these two groups of people 50-50. It took the first group, they had four movements. The second group had the exact same four movements, but the first group had only 4 rounds of these four movements. And it was like a 15 to 25-minute workout. And then the second group they didn't have a number, the rounds weren't given. They just had to go for time, which was 45 minutes to an hour. And what they noticed over the course of this 3 month trial period is the group that had the set time not only performed better, but lost more fat, built more muscle, and had more mental health clarity than the group that had to work the 45 minutes to an hour. And the reason for this is progressive overload. A lot of people overcomplicate exercises where they think they have to do a ton of different movements to get a full body workout. And if you simplify that, and that's what we do at FarmFit trainings, we really specialize on that quick and effective methodology. Like, hey, I'm going to give you a 15 to 25-minute workout, but I'm going to humble your ass in that time. But then you get on with your day. And so, like, the biggest thing, especially out there in this industry, and you can probably contest to this, is people make excuses because they're afraid of getting started or they use time as an excuse. Like, I don't have the time to invest in myself right now because I don't want to make that time, is what it boils down to. And so it was one of those things where that scientific journal was super eye-opening to me, where it was just like, okay, if I'm going to create something, it's got to be quick and effective. We have to teach how to do progressive overload correctly, and we have to really educate people that you don't need a lot of equipment. Like, you can use a tire or a tractor weight. Like, you don't have to have this big fancy gym, or if you have access to a gym, great. But I knew it had to be an at-home program where I could really take that excuse of time off the plate. And that's the same with nutrition. We really approach nutrition differently too. And so it's just like, I really wanted to hone in on both of those, and create something that was sustainable, that where individuals could show up for themselves and put in the work, but it could be a part of their everyday life.
You're using all the keywords that I love, Amanda: sustainable, time efficient, progressive overload. And this is really good. I want people listening or watching to get this message. Number one, you said the biggest excuse is time. I was just talking to my daughters, I think it was last night. So every night we put in a bed, we have these, somehow we get into these deep conversations. They're only 10 and 12. They're actually turning 11 and 13.
Oh, I love
But we were talking about how the speed of light is fixed, and we were talking about relativity. Believe it or not, I know it's weird. We homeschool our kids too. And we were talking about time as like it's fixed, right? I mean, it's not fixed if you're traveling near the speed of light, then it can kind of bend and stuff. But it's the only thing you can't change. And what you're getting at is that that's the one that you can make it, as in you can clear it from your schedule, right? But you can't like create more time.
that.
So that's important to just acknowledge that, like, you can't change 24 hours. So it's up to you to change other things to fit within the 24 hours. But then the progressive overload as a way to be time efficient, simplify, reduce stress, humble yourself, like you said. I love that. And effectively do something hard that I think pays off longer term in terms of the high you get from it, let's just say. In which case, what I want to ask you, Amanda, with this long diatribe is, what do you say to people who say, well, that's not hard enough, that's not intense enough, that doesn't, like, I like my CrossFit, or I like my, big intense, my Peloton type workouts. What do you say to those people?
Peloton is made for the masses. It's not made
Yeah.
for yourself. So first and foremost, any of those programs, Beachbody, Peloton, they're made for the masses. They're not going to challenge you like a good program like, for say, Philip or I put together. I promise you that. And
There you go.
secondly, workouts should humble you, and you should hire a coach that can actually educate you on the process. Like, a lot of people don't understand progressive overload correctly, even fitness instructors out there, like fitness
It's
people.
true.
I've seen
It's
them
true.
explain it so wrong. And so when you're doing progressive overload correctly, the first and foremost, let's debunk this myth that gets thrown out there in the fitness space is lifting heavy weights will make you bulky, especially for females. That is such a false lie. I am a 5'1" and I'm 125 pounds. Trust me, I'm not bulky. Fitness is going to
You
lean.
hold on. You guys need to check out her. You gave me like a photo to use for the cover art, and you're like, it looks like you're in the jungle. I know it's like a farm thing, but there's like the leaves. Again, and I'm not. It's not a body image thing, but you can tell. I say this all the time: when a woman is like muscular and lean, like, you have a fit, lean figure, and I bet you weigh more than people think, right? Like, I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
being
most
5'1".
people,
Yeah,
like, they see me and they're like, they don't like, especially when I'm wearing baggy clothes.
yeah.
Like, I'm petite, I'm 5'1", I'm fun size. And so when they see me, they don't understand the strength that I have. And so, like, for example, I always laugh when my husband sends me a text and he's like, I need your muscles. Like, it cracks me up because, like,
That's
he
awesome.
knows
Yeah.
that I can come over and lift the heavy stuff and help him, like, when we're fixing our combine or tractor. He knows I can do it. But a lot of people underestimate my strength ability. And that's the thing too, is like, ladies, heavier is going to make you leaner, tighter, smaller. And a lot of women, when they join a program, what's the number one word they always say? Tone. I want to be
Hmm.
toned. The only way you're going to get tone is if you pick up those weights. So
Yeah, it's muscle. Yeah.
do not shy away from that. And then, again, male and female chemical makeup is a lot different. We're
Hmm.
not the same genetic profile. So when a male picks up heavier weight, and hits his protein numbers, he's going to look a lot different compared to a female. Yes, there's some females and male influencers out there that are taking that steroid and they look manly. Let's just, like, females that look manly. But if you're doing it correctly and incorporating progressive overload correctly, you're going to get leaner, smaller, tighter ladies. And those men are going to see that progress that they're looking for. Most men want that chest, the arms, the back, and so you're going to see that progress a lot more. And the thing with progressive overload is it's got to be taught correctly. And again, there's so many fitness influencers that do not teach it correctly. And so that's actually what one of the things I love covering with my clients and educating them on is like, okay, this is how progressive overload looks. Like you want to warm your body up before you work out. You want to hit your max. Like a lot of people reverse this, by the way, is you want to hit your max weight in the beginning. And by the end, if you have to drop to maintain form, that's good because you're hitting muscle failure earlier on instead of later in your workout. You don't want to hit muscle failure at the end of your workout. And again, back to that case study, that's what that case study talked about is a lot of that group that had the set rounds, those 4 rounds in that 15 to 25-minute workout. Guess what? They pushed the weight because they knew they were only going to be doing it for 15 to 25 minutes versus that group that worked out for 45 minutes to an hour. They're like, gosh, we got to do this for the long haul. I'm not going to pick up heavier weights. So they probably didn't hit muscle failure until the end of the workout versus the beginning. And so there's a lot that happens with that, which I don't know how deep you want to go into this, but like, you have to create those micro tears in your muscle. And that's how you build and repair it. And obviously, nutrition plays a huge component into that as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I could definitely talk for hours about all the mechanisms underlying muscle building and strength. What I would love the listener to get from this from you is, you said it's a hard, humbling thing. I always like to say, if you're lifting weights the right way, it'll never be easy, but life is going to be a lot easier because you're stronger, like later on,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, and you can do
yeah,
everyday task, like
yeah,
people think about it. Like I dropped that nugget in there that my husband texts me saying he wants my muscles. It's like that. It's the fact that my husband views me as an asset and knows that I can help him. I just love it. Like
you're
it,
independent. You're not only independent, you contribute even more than independence. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
like you can do those everyday tasks. Like, do you imagine how much you squat and pick up during the day? How many squats people do, or even walking? Like, people don't realize how much they use their muscles in a day.
Yeah.
And if you use your muscles and again strengthen them, it makes those everyday motions a lot easier, lot easier to be able to handle. Where like there was this really strong commercial. Tell me if you saw this, Phil. This commercial was like an 80-year-old grandpa and he started lifting weight. And in this commercial, it was a Christmas commercial. He was lifting this weight and his neighbors were older people and they would peek in on him. He was out in his garage lifting this kettlebell, like just kept doing this kettlebell moment. And they kept talking about him, like, why is he working out at 80 and stuff? Well, at the end, the reason why he was working out is he wanted to be able to lift his granddaughter to put the star on top
Yeah.
of the tree.
Yeah. I've seen that one. That's a good one.
And
Yeah.
the point of that one, super powerful first and foremost, but the huge point there is a lot of people are not going to understand the things that you do. And when you dive into a fitness journey, you might get flack and you might get people being like, oh, look at her. She's posting pictures of herself again on the internet. Or look at her. She's bragging about her meal that she ate today. You're not doing this for everybody else. You're doing it for yourself. But you're going to slowly impact those around you. And you have to realize like you're your longest commitment and checking in with yourself and being able to be like, you know what? I don't want to be that 80-year-old sitting in a nursing home tied to a wheelchair. I want to be that 80-year-old freaking busting out pull ups and being that grandma that's super hands on. And so it's just that type of mental switch where something that I do with every single one of my clients is we do a why statement. Have you ever done that before?
Yeah. Or the 5 whys. Yeah.
Well, we don't do the 5 whys. We
Okay.
just do a why statement. So the
Sure.
why statement is your deepest, darkest emotions you have about yourself. So before anybody can even start coaching with us, especially in my one-on-one coaching, is they have to create this why statement. And sometimes it's superficial, I want to look good, feel good. Or other times it's like, my mom was obese. I
Hmm.
don't want to be obese. I want to change that pattern for my family. I want to be an active, hands-on mom or dad.
Be a
Sometimes
role model for my kid. Yeah, definitely.
exactly.
Hmm.
Sometimes it gets super deep. And that's when you know you're on the right path of creating your why statement because those why statements, like motivation's fleeting. It's going to come and go. But when you tap back into that why statement, it's going to change as you go through your fitness journey, but it's going to be super powerful tool, not only physically, but mentally to drive you to be like, you know what? This is why I'm showing up. I'm showing up for myself because I want to be that active hands-on mom. I want to be that mom where all those other moms are sitting there talking on the sideline and the boys are playing football and I'm right there.
Yeah.
And I'm totally that mom. So I have a 9-year-old and 11-year-old boy. I'm a boy mom. And I am totally that mom. Like they were playing football the other day and I was right in there playing tackle football with a bunch of 11-year-olds, while all these other parents were sitting on the sidelines. And it's just like, I choose to have an active lifestyle because there's so many moments where I'm not going to have that with my kids as they get older. And I'm not going to be the cool mom anymore. I want to take advantage of it as much as possible. And if tapping into myself for 20 minutes a day gets me to those goals and keeps me being able to be that hands-on mom, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. And that's the powerful thing here is that you have the deep why and now you have a process to get you there. And the process itself isn't really that, I'm not going to say hard. Again, it's hard to lift weights, but in a good way, but it doesn't have to be taking over your life and this stressful thing that you hate or don't look forward to like a lot of workouts can be. And I can totally relate, right? Because we have dogs, I have kids, we have chickens, I have hamsters, and I love to just like get on the floor and crawl around and just whatever. My girls are getting tall and bigger and my youngest especially will still ask me to hold her. And I'm like, sure, brace, because it's more of a deadlift now. You're heavier, it's cool, you're bigger, but let's do it. Brace like a deadlift. It's fun to do that. But going back to the lifting weights then, like a great example is, I see it all the time with clients, I'm sure you do too, this amazing thing that happens, this transformation that happens fairly early on. I mean, it could be within the first few weeks where you don't necessarily see muscle or have like lost many inches in your waist, but you're feeling more powerful and strong. And like there's hormones that are just being triggered, testosterone, IGF-1, like all this fun stuff. Maybe tell us about the physiology, because then that leads to the mental piece, which is also physiological, not just like emotional per se. How does training affect your hormones, your stressors, that feeling of power? Like we can get into all that. I know how passionate you are about this.
I'm super passionate, but we're gonna hit nutrition into that at some
Okay.
point as well. But like
Sure.
lifting a weight, first and foremost, you release this amazing thing called endorphins. And those are like our body's natural ability. It's like your happy pill. And first and foremost, a lot of people, once you start to tap into it, that's why you see people working out years and years and years later because they love that. They love that adrenaline rush. And that's one thing I love too in the morning when I work out, just that feeling of accomplishment that I get of like, hey, I checked in for myself. This is a big deal. And some days, not my lifts are not the best. I'll be the first to tell you. Some days I'm like, that was a shady workout. Sorry, I don't know if I should have
It's all
said that.
good. It's all good.
Like, and there's other days where I like, I crush that and I'm going to be as sore as I'll get out the next day, but it's going to be worth it, And so it's the beautiful part of fitness is like, as you start to dive into it, not going too deep and keeping this in layman terms, is your body is this amazing mechanism. And like a lot of people don't realize, like when you start to lift those weights, there's so much happening in your body and it becomes this addicting agent where you're like, I want to check in the next day. I want to come back, and sometimes that takes time, like progress. I think that you hit that right on the head is progress takes time. And the biggest thing is it takes consistency. Don't expect to lose 20 pounds in the first month. First and foremost, if you did, I'd be
You're
a
on a
little,
crash diet or something.
you're on
Yeah.
the wheel of diet culture and you're
Yeah.
going to get it all back because you're not establishing those habits. You have to create those habits and progress takes time. And the more consistent you are with like lifting weights, like I do something called functional hybrid training is what I really specialize in. And again, it takes time. And we really explain that to clients where it's like, you're going to start to notice mental changes as you start to lift and show up for yourself way before you start to see the physical changes. And I
Mhm.
think everybody needs to know that is like physical changes, they will come and they will come differently for each people. Like I had a client that went through 12 weeks and didn't really see a lot of physical changes in 12 weeks, believe it or not. But she saw major changes mentally. And
Yes.
I shit you not, after 12 weeks, week four, or it would have been 14, week 14, it's like her body just went boom. And
Mhm.
started seeing the muscle definition. She started seeing the popping. Her pant size was a lot smaller. She started seeing her abs. And it was like her body just all of a sudden just flipped a script. And that's the cool thing too, is like your body's unique and it's going to change when it needs to. But the biggest thing is you have to be consistent and you have to believe in the process and the journey. And a lot of people tend to tap out before the magic even happens.
Yeah, I totally know what you mean. Just today, I was talking to a client. We've worked together a long time. She's going to go on her own. That's usually what I want is for someone
Oh,
to fire me. But at the same time, I'm like sad. we looked back at her data, and there was a time early on where her scale weight basically stayed exactly the same and she dropped like 4.5% body fat. But we looked at her check-ins back then, and it was like all of these mental things. It was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing something I've never done before. Oh my goodness. Like, and yeah, clothes were fitting better and whatnot, but it's this accomplishment, win, 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 whether it is endorphins and dopamine, and also just seeing, the data as well, all of it comes together. It's really empowering. And you're right. Like, men and women will respond differently. It'll based on your nutrition, based on how you hold on to maybe fluid. So if you're getting super like strong and jacked quickly, that could actually cause you to gain weight, right? Like, and kind of
Yeah.
offset, right?
And
So
plateau. A lot
yeah,
of people
yeah,
plateau, and then
yeah.
again, once they plateau, they're not doing the training right, because you should never
Sure,
plateau if you're doing it
sure.
correctly. Yeah.
Absolutely. So then you mentioned consistency several times, and there's all these words that get thrown out: consistency, motivation, willpower, discipline. Did I say discipline? And you also mentioned time and hardworking people who are super busy. And I can't imagine, like, farming, for example, always seemed to me like a very hard scrabble, tough, kind of lifestyle when it comes to finding that time. So how do you do it all? Like, how do you not make excuses when life's going to be chaotic? It's going to be busy. How do you prioritize that?
Well, for me personally, are you talking clients? Because me personally, I just know that if I don't order for me to give to others. And so I mentioned that earlier, and I don't know if you caught that nugget, is I mentioned the glass half full, half empty around a lot. Like, it's a lot harder to pour from a half empty cup than a half full. And that's super powerful. Like, if you think about it, like when you show up for yourself, you have the ability to give to others because you checked in with yourself. And again, it's not being selfish. It's realizing, hey, if I don't check a little time, how am I able to give to my family? My husband's super busy on our farm. We're just gearing up for planting season. I have two boys that are super busy and ton of sports. They're very active little men. And it's just like, I know as a mother, like, I can't give to them until I give to myself. And that doesn't mean I'm being selfish. It just means I want to be a good mother and I want to show them and lead by an example. And so when people say they don't have the time or come with those excuses, like, how do I juggle it all? Is I get up at 5 a.m. I'll be
Mhm.
honest, like, I don't even have to use an alarm clock. My body just wakes up. And my boys know it. Like, on the weekends, it seems like they love to wake up super early. And during the week, it's a struggle to get them out the door to school.
Of course.
But on weekends, like, they'll mosey up at 5:30, and like sometimes they'll join me in my workout, or other times they'll sit there and watch me and have a conversation while I'm working out. And I cherish those moments because I know I'm showing them how to take care of their body. And I love having my boys join me in the kitchen. Like, they'll make snacks with me. We'll pipe in and make dinners with me. I actually have a recipe I'm dropping tomorrow that my youngest made with me. And it's just so cool to teach them and educate them how to feel their body, because I was one of those people that came from a mother that was always on the hamster wheel of diet culture. Like,
Mhm.
my mom right now is taking Ozempic, which, oh, don't get me started on that. Not a fan. Not a fan. But, like, she's always looking for those quick fixes. And same with my sister. And I didn't want that. I wanted to show them, like, hey, let's do this the correct way. Let me show you how to, like, be physically fit, but also let's dive into nutrition. Let me educate you about nutrition and feeling your body and how what it does to your body. And it's such cool opportunities that I have with my children where I get to educate the way. And it's so cool because then I use those moments and I bring it to our community. In my space, farm fit training is like, it's not just me having those moments, it's a ton of my clients. Like, we have a community group chat in my app, and I'll have pictures, clients post pictures of them working out with their kids at 5 a.m. Or some of my farmers prefer to work out at the end of the day and they'll post it. Or I have farmers attend, we do something called Farmcast once a month where I do like educational hour long educationals, and they'll be in the tractor listening to me. And it's just like, we're a unique industry, but again, if your why is strong enough, the rest, it will fit into your life exactly how it doesn't need to be
Yeah.
complicated. And
Yeah. Uh,
it's super simple to say that, but it takes work. It takes
Yeah,
work.
of course. Yeah, absolutely. It takes some getting over that initial hump. And then, like you said, if it's a deep enough reason you're doing it, it's almost inevitable. And then eventually you get to the point you couldn't imagine not doing. You're finding a way, like, I need to train, like, how do I make it happen?
And too, like, make
Yeah.
it fun.
Make it
You know,
fun. Absolutely.
100% make it fun. Like, if you're working out, like, right now we're doing a step challenge. for my community. And I wrote my boys in it. My son has an Apple Watch. He doesn't have a phone, but he has an Apple Watch. And he competes with me on steps. Like, make it fun. That's the biggest thing is
Yeah.
like this should be something that you look forward to, and it's fun and it's something about checking in with yourself. And
Yep.
so I think a lot of people make it not fun. And that's why they check out so early because they view it more as like a task I have to get done instead of being like, I get the opportunity to do this. Like,
Agreed.
I get to be able to move my body. I get to be able to feel my body. And when you view it that way, just the way you talk about it and your language around it, it's going to impact and it's going to switch your whole mental health side of things on how you view what you're doing for yourself.
Yeah, I agree. I just did squats today, and I'll tell you, Amanda, that
Love
that's the
it.
one compound lift that is always been mentally hardest for me, right? Because it's just I'll call it weakest of all the lifts. And I know I'm not going to say I have to do it. I know I want to do it because I'm progressing it and I have a training program and it's been giving me great results. And so that leads me to ask you this is that while you can make things as fun as you can, there is an aspect of discomfort when we talk about progressive overload that you have to face. And how do people handle that initially? And then that's part of training your mind, isn't it? And that's part of the resilience that you get out of it. What are your thoughts on that piece of it? Like the actual hard part of a really heavy squat or deadlift?
Well, mine's pull ups, by the way. I
Okay,
hate.
pull ups. Oh, you hate them. Okay. Okay.
I'm not a fan, but everybody has to start somewhere.
Mhm.
You have to start somewhere. When I first started pull-ups, like I love push-ups, which is really weird. Like push-ups are my jam and burpees. I love push-up and burpees. But when you tell me I have to pull myself up on a bar, I struggle because it's just like it's a whole different beast for me myself. And so you have to be willing to get uncomfortable to grow. And
Mhm.
if you're not willing to be uncomfortable to grow, you will never grow. And so when you get to certain things that you don't necessarily enjoy, just look at it as like, I am growing here. I have the opportunity to grow here. It's going to get better. I'm eventually going to start lifting heavier weights. I'm eventually, like, a lot of women struggle with push ups, for example, just not their favorite thing. And again, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable to be able to grow. And so what I tell my ladies is your push-up might not look the best right now. Watch the video, pay attention to the cues that I give you. Send me videos if you want me to look and critique your form. But you have to still show up for yourself and still put in the work. Because anytime you want to grow as an individual, again, you have to be willing to do the uncomfortableness to get through that. And I can relate that to like public speaking. I never thought I would be on stages public speaking about physical and mental health for agriculture at like ag events. Not my cup of tea. But I know like the more I get on stage, the more I get uncomfortable, the more I can grow and become a good speaker, for example. And so, like, it's just anything in life. You don't even have to tie it to fitness or nutrition or anything. Like, it's just if you're not willing to get uncomfortable, then there's not going to be an opportunity for growth.
100%. And yeah, and if we could teach our kids that, that's even better. My oldest daughter, we have them go to something called Gavel Club, which is like an extension of Toastmasters for public speaking, because you mentioned the nervousness of
I'm
speaking.
not looking it up, by the
Yeah,
way.
Gavel Club. And my youngest loves it. My oldest is not a fan. Mainly, she doesn't like the group itself, but that's a different situation. But she will say the way she frames it, it's like this positive reframing. She's like, I'm not really a fan, but I know it's good. I know it's helping me. And it's like, you know what I mean? It's like that discomfort of we're obviously not going to force her to do something that's just terrible, but this thing is helping her grow and she acknowledges that. And I think it's a strong skill to develop. And the younger you are, the better, right? Otherwise, we get into habits of a lot of negative self talk and thinking we
Quitting.
can't do and quitting. Yes.
The only time
Yeah.
you fail is when you quit. The only
Yeah.
time
If you don't make the attempt, you've quit. That's true.
yeah.
Yeah. By
And in your
definition.
business, like we're both entrepreneurs, we both have a fitness business. Like there's times in my fitness business, oh my God, like being an entrepreneur is a whole different beast in itself. But you have to work through that uncomfortableness and realize like, hey, it's not going to get better if I just walk away and throw in the towel. Like I have to continue to show up for myself. And that goes with the nutrition. Nutrition is a beast. A lot of people struggle when it comes to nutrition. Like
Mhm.
the actual exercise side of things, people can start to get those habits and form them. But tying nutrition to exercise and tying to filling your body correctly, that's where a lot of people super struggle because, again, we live in a society that is all about quick fixes.
Quick fixes. Yep. And it's confusing, so much misinformation with
No,
all the micro stuff that's not important
I don't know
or
what you
doesn't
do
work.
for
Yeah.
nutrition, but this will be interesting if we dive into this.
Oh, nutrition. Oh, yeah, yeah. So part of our bread and butter is evidence-based flexible dieting. So highly,
Macros,
yeah, macros and,
that's what I do.
covering your micronutrients with a balanced whole foods based approach where you can fit in indulgences. And as long as you're fueling your body and getting enough carbs and not training fasted, that's one thing. I don't know if you agree on that one, but that's generally what I like
I
to
am not
recommend.
an intermittent fasting girl. No
Yeah, no.
hormone. So we're actually on the same page.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah. Good.
about
Yeah.
that because like that's super important to talk about.
Yep.
It's like I am a huge anti-intermittent fasting. If you're feeling your body correctly, there's no need to fast, first and foremost. And macros, for those people that don't know, the word macro means large. So you're focusing on the nutritional value of foods in large amounts. So protein, carbs, and fats. Now, in my training, we really focus on high protein because protein's a building block of life. But how I educate and teach it is super unique. Like I don't hand you a cookie cutter nutrition plan. I more approach it as let's make this meal that's going to work for your whole family because I
Mhm.
feed anywhere from 4 to 8 people during harvest time because we have seasonal help. I'm not going to make myself a meal and make them something
Of
totally
course
separate.
not. Yeah.
Everybody's eating the same. And so I really focus on making high protein meals. And then what I do is how I can customize it is different sides or toppings. And that's how I hit my macros. And so it's more like sustainable. But with that being said, oh yeah, if there's an Oreo on the counter, I'm totally gonna have it. You know,
Oreos, yeah.
I'm all
Dipped in
about
milk.
yeah, I'm all about flexibility. Like we drink whole milk in my household because first and foremost, there's so many amazing benefits from whole milk. But
Love
like
whole milk. Yeah.
that's the thing is like a lot of people are just not educated properly on nutrients and they feel like, oh, if I have a little Oreo, there goes my whole nutrition. No, it's about building a better relationship with food. And a lot of people are emotionally attached to food and that's why they struggle. I would, and correct me wrong, Phil, but like I would take somebody that is obese in a program over somebody that's an undereater because those undereaters, they get
Yes.
mental health.
It's much tougher and they might have disordered eating in the past and everything. And overweight or people who are obese have a lot of energy to start with too, and they will make a lot of progress when they start training.
Yeah, because like when you take someone that's an undereater, you can't even address nutrition without like really working hard with them on viewing food as fuel. And the crazy thing is, I actually had a couple dietitians go through my program that were anorexic.
Mm.
And that was super hard. I'm like, wait, you're a dietitian teaching nutrition to people and you're anorexic. Like it was a hard struggle with them. But they came out great and they actually started seeing muscle and it turned out great. It was really that mental health was super hard to work with through that because it's just like they didn't view food as fuel. It was like a negative notation to them.
Shout out to Felipe. I know Philip for a long time and I know how passionate he is about healthy eating and body strength. And that's why I choose him to be my coach. I was no stranger to the dieting and body training, but I always struggled to do it sustainably. Philip helped me prioritize my goals with evidence-based recommendations while not overstressing my body and not feeling like I'm starving. In 6 months, I lost 45 pounds without drastically changing the foods I enjoy, but now I have a more balanced diet. I weight train consistently, but most importantly, I do it sustainably. If a scientifically sound, healthy diet and a lean, strong body is what you're looking for, Philip Pape is your guy.
Let me ask, when they started moving more or lifting or whatever program you had them on, did that tie into a better relationship with food just on itself or like,
Over
yeah,
time, over time.
yeah,
When they first started, they couldn't even lift 5 pounds
yeah.
because they didn't
They were
have the
weak.
they were
Sure.
super weak.
Yep.
And so we really had to hit the nutrition side of things and the mental health and the coaching, like, and really tap into that. So I am actually certified in psychology.
Okay.
And so, like we had to really tap into that first before we could even uncover and get them doing progressive overload and any of that talk. And so it was hard, but it was so worth it because now they look fabulous. And it makes me feel better because they're the ones that are legit dietitians. They're out there working at medical facilities. And it's like, how could you have spent all these years being a
I know
dietitian?
what you mean. There's definitely a lot of dichotomies like that. Like I've had coaches who coach their nutrition coaches and they seek me out because there's certain, it's almost a form of education. They're seeking a better education with you, I think, is ultimately, even though it's for themselves, it also is for how they can help people. So you probably just helped at least 2 people and then everyone else they helped in the future,
So worth it.
which is fun, which is
I
fun.
want to still on my
Yeah,
strategy.
yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because it's not about the information. It's really
Yeah.
about support, accountability, finding what works for you. So wait, you said psychology. That's an interesting one because I'm wondering from a psychological perspective, when we talk about some common things today, like anxiety, a lot of people seem to have anxiety. Again, I don't know how clinically diagnosed that is, or if it's just people talking about it. Like we said, people talking about it. A lot of people are overwhelmed, highly stressed. Like where does training and where does strength, where does nutrition fit into that as potentially a protocol for it, without any other variables changing, let's say? I know we're not talking about somebody who needs like some deep mental health
Yeah.
you know what I'm
My
saying?
psychology teacher is through ICF. Have you heard of that? International Coach Federation.
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the highest standards of
Yeah.
certifications you could get. And the reason I got that, I'm actually I'm working on neurologistic programming master and practitioner as we speak.
Oh, NLP. Yeah.
But the reason I even dabbled into it is because of the fact that when you start, like I've had countless women on antidepressant pills when they joined the program. And again, we've dabbled into this is like as you start to work out like the hormones and just the amazing benefits that come from that. It also pays into that because a lot of people might take an antidepressant pill. Some people actually need them, that clinically need them for
Mhm.
some purpose. I'm not like if you clinically need it, that's a
Sure.
whole different part. But if you take it because it's was subscribed, and first and foremost, I hope every doctor is talking to everybody about nutrition and exercise before they subscribe a pill, which is not the case. But with that being said, is like when you start to dive into a physical and nutrition and start to simplify that, like anxiety, let's take that one, is as you start to go through it and build those healthy relationship and create a sustainable system for yourself, the biggest thing we talked about was consistency earlier on. Is a lot of people get anxiety when stuff is not routine or it's out of their comfort zone and they get overwhelmed with situations. And the thing here is when you start to really start to pay attention to your body and the cues and what it gives off, your anxiety is actually going to diminish
Hmm.
or not because you're
Hmm.
starting to be more intuitive of what your body needs. And same with antidepressant. I've had countless women go off antidepressant pills after they joined my program is because they realize, hey, I can actually show up for myself, fit it in my routine and it's going to start to change my mindset. And then I'm feeling myself. Next thing you know, I don't really need this antidepressant or this anxiety medication because I'm not as overwhelmed. And you also like your hormones start to change as you go through that. I don't
Yeah.
know how deep you want to go here.
No, that's good. I'm thinking like they had a sense of uncertainty and overwhelm, and now they have a sense of control, confidence,
Perfect.
structure,
Yep.
purpose. Even if it is like getting in tune with your own body signals, you do it in a structured way that's like somebody's guiding you to say, okay, we're going to look at this information about yourself. We're going to ask you questions. We're going to help you reflect. And then before long, and then you hit the weights and you hit the discomfort of the gym and you're progressing there too. It's just an amazing soup of improvement going on.
Yeah. And it's like, I honestly, like good fitness coaches out there, we need to be recognized because, like, yes, there is some pretty shitty fitness coaches out there, but I think you and I are on the same page as far as everything is when you find a good coach that is like you're not just a cheerleader in your back pocket, but somebody that's very knowledgeable and able to help you work through those, it can be life changing. It can be super transformative. And so, like, I always like to say, instead of calling myself a fitness coach or a wellness coach, I like to say I'm a transformational coach
Hmm.
because that's truly what we are at the end of the day is we're not just talking about fitness with you. We're not just, educating you on nutrition or, helping you create these habits for yourself. We're really transforming your life to something that, if not where you were super healthy at one point, to even better.
Yeah.
And one of the stigmas, so I'm actually getting certified in youth coaching. And the reason for this is
Too many certifications going on here.
know. Well,
No, it's good. It's good.
actually, the youth coaching I'm already done. I'm certified through NFHS. I'm a level 3 coach, so I actually already completed it. And the reason I did it is because there was a lot of school coaches out there that I was questioning their habits, and I'm like, I want to know what they have to know. And so the biggest thing there is like they talked about interscholastic coaching, which is like your student at top and then your parent and your coach are equal, and how they all need to work together as a triangle.
Hmm.
And I loved it. And it just made me really eye-opening to the coaching around our area. Is a lot of those coaches don't do that, is they're all about the W. And especially in like sixth grade, it shouldn't be about the W. It should be about developing that foundation and getting them excited to be able to be a part of that sport and move their body. And so that's why I went down that rabbit hole and got that certification, which I'm already.
Good for you. Good for you, because there's like child abuse going on in some of these coaching practices with
It's all
kids,
about the W,
like
and that's not what
losing weight for wrestlers who are teenagers, like all this stuff.
I
Yeah,
know.
I totally agree. You need to have that systems based and team based approach to help the athlete as a person, for
Yeah.
sure.
But I'll be the first to tell you I'm not part of the status quo over here, so they don't.
No, no, it's okay. We're all trying to break the mold. We're trying to break the mold.
Yeah.
So I
So
like how you said I like how you said transformation, because that is like a deep seated change in your identity over time. I use terms like systems or engineering your life, engineering your body. It's the same idea, right? Which is different
yeah,
terminology. And then, like you mentioned, you go from I have to I get to. There's a lot of reframing. I wanted to ask you about that too, because again, we're talking about psychology, we're talking about mental health. How much of this is reframing as part of your identity shift? And that is, you eventually everything is more of a positive lens, more of an optimistic lens, even though bad things happen. What are your thoughts on that? Like positive psychology?
well, first and foremost, when you start anything, you're going to talk negative about yourself. Like,
Mhm.
let's be honest. Like, there's so many times especially after having my second child, I'd look in the mirror and be like, I'm fat. Like, only if I had this, only if I had that. Like, how you talk to yourself is a huge indicator too of like, hey, you have to take that first step and be uncomfortable. And a lot of people don't realize like the way you talk to yourself has a negative impact on your life. It really does. And I always saw my mom fluctuate with weight and talk so negative about her body, and I was like, no. So like one of the things I do with my boys is I don't talk about losing weight. I don't talk about random like negative terminology. I always talk about being strong. I'm like, so for example, they would come in on one of my heavy lift days and I'd be like, Mom, crush that. She's on fire. She is strong, and it's just like I'm really vocal about it because like when you start something again, sometimes we talk negative and we're our own worst critic and we don't even realize it. And it's just that frame of switching your mindset to viewing like, you know what? I showed up today. Like your daughter, for example, she hated the speaking thing. And she's like, you know what? I don't like it, but I know it's good. So it's a lot of that is part of a fitness journey as well. Is like you might suck at something in the beginning. We all suck. That's the thing. We all suck in the beginning. But as you keep going, it's just like how you talk and how you frame things and how like I get to instead of I have to. Those are huge part of the process as well. And and be like, I get to show up today, or I get to go to a basketball game with my kids, or I get to feel our family. Like, I mean, do I like cooking every single day? Like, I'm the cooker in our house. I don't know about you, but my husband does not cook. So if you cook, Phil, you're like up on him.
I do about 10-20% of the cooking at this point, but yeah.
Oh, and he doesn't even know how to make mac and cheese, but I love him.
Okay.
It's okay. It's old farm, like the farm wives always cook.
Summertime, the grill comes out, then I cook a lot more.
I'm the griller. Well, he does dabble in grilling. I do love him. He's actually starting to get out of his comfort zone there. But like, that's the thing is like there was times like when my boys were younger, I'm like, oh, I gotta cook again, or here we go again. And now it's like I like enjoy it. I'm like, I'm cooking something that's nutritious for my whole family. Like I get to buy these ingredients to make this really yummy dish that I know they're gonna love. Like yesterday, me and my youngest just made these really awesome nut bars that I'll be posting tomorrow. And it was so fun to make it with him and like show him how to cook. And so it's just like I take those opportunities and I'm like, hey, I can teach my boys how to cook, and like I get this opportunity to teach how to fill their bodies. And so it's just like going back to your question, I long-winded that, but just changing your mindset of how you speak to yourself is huge. Instead of saying I have to, say I get to. And
Yeah.
that will be a huge difference in your life.
That is a simple one right there. applied to everything. There's somebody in our group program, she calls me a positivity bully because I would do that with her early on. She would say things like that, talking bad about herself. And I say, how about we reframe this? How about this? How does this sound? And now she's an expert. It's like a skill, you develop, and now she's the one helping others. So we love to see that. Do you have time for like 3 rapid fire questions?
Go for it.
Okay. Favorite lift?
Favorite lift? I'm a booty girl. I love Bulgarian squats or deadlifts.
Bulgarian split squat. That's like hated across the world. That's good for you.
I love a bootylicious booty. Okay. And those are my 2 favorite lifts. Like if I had to pick one or the other, seriously, I couldn't pick between the 2 of them.
And the deadlift is great. You like conventional or sumo? What's your flavor?
RDL.
RDLs. Okay, great. Good for the hammies too. Yeah. Awesome. What is, so walking or cardio?
I am not a cardio person, so I'm going to go with it.
I'm not either.
I am 100% weight training, which is crazy because in college I was so a cardio person. Like I ran a half marathon.
I bet because you did CrossFit. That computes. That computes.
Yeah, I used to be a hardcore runner.
Yeah.
I did create a 12-week running program. I'm going to test it out before I make it public. And my son's in cross country, so I am certified as a running coach. By the way, I am getting back into running. But if you had to tell me walk on the treadmill 15 minutes or for 20 minutes at 15 incline with a weighted vest, I will hands down do that over running miles.
I hear you. I've just got into sprinting myself, but I do not like running.
Better than running. Hey, that's better than long distance running. I'm there.
Yeah. And the last one is, what do you tell yourself during a hard lift?
Oh gosh. Actually, I listen to meditation music when I lift. As crazy as that
sounds. The Tibetan chimes and stuff like that?
No, I have meditation music that I have on my, I used to listen to music like heavy, hardcore, heavy metal. And this year I switched to listening to audiobooks or meditation music. And I can't tell you the most amazing thing ever. I don't know. It's just the nuggets you grab from listening to an audiobook when you lift. I know some people are thinking I'm nuts.
No, I listen to podcasts when I lift. It's not.
I'm telling you, it's the time that I get. When I tell myself on heavy lift is one more. You got one more. Keep pushing yourself. You can do one more. Now do 2 more. Especially on ARP training, as many reps as possible, on a HIIT training day.
Yes.
I always tell myself, what'd you get last round? You can crush that. One more, and it's sometimes we have to remind ourselves that we always the way we speak to ourselves during that moment says a lot about our character and says a lot about our persistence, but also shows that the mindset is so intuitive to your body. Your body will go where your mind tells
you. Your body has far more capacity than your mind usually allows. And if you allow it, it can outperform more than you imagine. And it's funny, there's 2 different types of hard I always think about when it comes to heavy lift. It's either volume work where it's the reps, or it's heavy and you don't have a lot of reps, but now each one is just this massive undertaking, right? So either one. This morning I did volume work, and just like you're saying, I did 10 sets of 3 squat, but they were fairly submaximal, but by not 10, but 6 sets. And by rep 5, my quads are telling me, can I really do this? Of course you can do it. Just, you got to do it,
Yeah. Cool. Your body, your mind, if your mind's set and stone, your body will go where your mind tells it. Really, you can do anything as long as you could believe in yourself.
It is true. It's like a trite thing we say, but it is 100% true, and you gotta believe it. All right. So I know we covered a lot of different things. There's probably a lot we didn't cover. So you kind of alluded to where people could find or what you provide, but where can they find you? So I can throw that in the show notes.
Awesome. Well, first, thank you, Philip. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and X as FarmFit Momma. It's FarmFit MOMMA. I am on TikTok, but I will tell you right now, I do not post on it. I kind of deleted that app for now, and I'm not on Snapchat, so don't find me over there. And my business page is FarmFit Training, and it's all on all those same platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and X. And then I also have a website. Go check that out. It's farmfitmomma.com.
All right. We'll throw those in the show notes for sure. Thank you so much, Amanda, for coming on. This was fun. I didn't know what we'd be able to get into with the whole agriculture thing. So that's pretty awesome. Hope the listeners loved it. I'm sure they did, and appreciate you taking your time.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.